I always believed I had the perfect marriage. My husband, Daniel, was everything a woman could ask for: loyal, hardworking, and deeply loving. We met in college, and from the moment he looked into my eyes, I knew he was the one. Over the years, we built a strong foundation of trust, laughter, and companionship. But as time passed, things changed. Daniel's job demanded more of his time, and I found myself alone in our home more often than not. At first, I didn't mind. I understood that he was doing it for us, for our future. But the silence of the house started to weigh on me, the empty bed feeling colder with each passing night. To fill the void, I spent more time with friends, including Mark, our longtime neighbor. He was always around, always willing to lend an ear when I needed to vent about my day. It felt harmless, just friendly conversations, shared laughter, and the comfort of knowing someone was there. One evening, after a long phone call with Daniel where he told me he'd be away for another week, I sat alone in the dimly lit living room. The weight of loneliness pressed on me. I sighed, running my fingers over the rim of my wine glass, lost in thought. That's when I felt it, a presence. It wasn't loud, just a whisper of movement behind me. My heart skipped a beat, and I turned, but no one was there. I shook it off. Maybe it was just my imagination, a trick of the dim lighting and my tired mind. But a lingering unease settled in my chest. Days passed, and the feeling didn't fade. In the middle of the night, I would wake up with the distinct sensation of being watched. Shadows seemed darker, movements almost imperceptible but present. I told myself I was overthinking. I had lived in this house for years. There was nothing to be afraid of. Mark noticed my restlessness. "You seem off lately," he said one afternoon as we sat on my porch. I laughed it off, telling him about the strange feeling I'd been having. He leaned in slightly, his eyes unreadable. "Maybe you just need someone around more often," he suggested, his voice casual. But something in the way he said it made my skin prickle. I brushed it aside, not realizing then how much those words would come to haunt me. That strange feeling never left me. It grew stronger, creeping into my nights, turning silence into something ominous. I'd wake up suddenly, heart pounding, certain I had heard a sound, a soft creak, the shuffle of fabric against the floor. But every time I turned on the light, nothing was there. I told myself it was stress. Daniel had been gone for weeks now, and I was just adjusting to the loneliness. I distracted myself with books, music, anything to keep my mind occupied. But no matter what I did, I couldn't shake the sensation that I wasn't alone. One evening, I was in the kitchen washing dishes when I felt it again, that undeniable presence. I turned quickly, expecting to see someone standing behind me. My breath caught, but the room was empty. My hands trembled as I set the dish down. Maybe I needed more rest. Mark had become a constant in my life, always checking in, always offering his company. "You shouldn't be alone so much," he said one afternoon, his tone light, but his eyes watching me closely. "You deserve someone who's actually here." His words unsettled me, but I laughed them off. He was just being friendly, I told myself. But there was something about his presence that had changed. His visits became more frequent, his touches lingering just a second too long. One night, I fell asleep on the couch, too exhausted to move to the bedroom. A noise woke me, soft, deliberate footsteps. My skin prickled, and a chill spread through me. My heart pounded as I strained to hear. Then, the whisper of my name. I sat up sharply, eyes scanning the dark room. "Daniel?" My voice was hoarse, uncertain. But I already knew the answer. My husband wasn't home. The air was thick with something unspoken, a presence that sent every instinct in my body screaming. I forced myself to my feet, reaching for my phone with shaking hands. A message popped up on the screen from Mark. "Are you awake?" A cold wave of realization crashed over me. My fingers hovered over the reply, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The walls of my home, the place where I was supposed to feel safest, now felt like they were closing in. I wasn't imagining things. Someone had been there, watching, waiting. And I had a terrible feeling I already knew who it was. My hands trembled as I gripped the phone, staring at Mark's message. My mind raced, connecting dots I had ignored for too long. The lingering glances, the way he always seemed to know when I was alone, the subtle comments hinting at something more. I had dismissed them, convinced myself they were harmless. But now, in the darkness of my home, I knew better. I typed a quick response. "Why are you asking?" The reply came almost instantly. "I was just thinking about you." A chill ran down my spine. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay calm. I couldn't let fear cloud my judgment. I needed answers. "Have you been here?" The three dots appeared, then disappeared. My stomach twisted. Minutes passed and finally his response came. Would it be so bad if I was? I felt sick. My pulse pounded in my ears as I rose from the couch, checking the locks on every door. My mind replayed every strange occurrence. The footsteps, the feeling of being watched, the moments I had dismissed as paranoia. Mark had been there. He had been inside my home. I should have called Daniel. I should have called the police. But instead, I made a mistake. I confronted him. "You need to stop this." My fingers were stiff as I typed. "Whatever you think is happening, it isn't." His response was immediate. "I know you feel it too. You don't have to be alone anymore. I can take care of you." My breath hitched. My hands were clammy, my heart hammering against my ribs. He wasn't just watching. He was waiting for me to let him in. Then came the knock at the door. Soft, deliberate. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Another knock. Then a voice, low, calm, familiar. "I know you're awake." Panic surged through me. My hands clenched into fists as I stepped back, pulse racing. I had let this go too far. I had mistaken friendship for something safe, when in reality, I had been entertaining a man who believed I belonged to him. My phone slipped from my grasp as I heard the handle jiggle. I had never been more afraid in my life. I backed away, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. The door handle rattled again, followed by a quiet chuckle. "You don't have to be scared." Mark's voice came through the door, steady and coaxing. "I just want to talk." I wanted to scream, to yell at him to leave, but fear had gripped my throat. I grabbed my phone off the floor, my fingers shaking as I typed a message to Daniel. "Mark is outside. He won't leave. I'm scared." Seconds felt like hours as I waited for a response. Mark knocked again, firmer this time. "You know I'd never hurt you." The ease in his voice made my skin crawl. My phone buzzed. "Stay inside. I'm calling the police. Don't open the door." Relief washed over me, but I knew I wasn't safe yet. I needed to make sure Mark didn't try to break in. "Leave, Mark," I finally managed to say, my voice steadier than I felt. "Right now." Silence. Then a sigh. "I was hoping you'd see it differently." His voice was softer now, disappointed. "I could have given you more than he ever could." I clenched my jaw, rage bubbling beneath my fear. "You need to leave before this gets worse." For a moment I thought he might argue, try to push further. But then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, the pressure on the handle stopped. His footsteps faded into the night. I waited, breathless, listening. Then, the distant sound of a car starting. He was gone. Minutes later, Daniel called. His voice was sharp, worried. "Are you okay?" Tears pricked my eyes as I sank onto the floor. "I don't know." The police arrived soon after, but Mark had already disappeared. There was nothing they could do except file a report and suggest a restraining order. But the damage was done. My sense of security, my trust in what I thought was harmless, was shattered. Daniel came home the next day. The moment he stepped inside, I broke down, telling him everything, not just about the night before, but the months leading up to it. The ignored signs, the small warnings I brushed aside. He held me, silent, letting me cry. We changed the locks. We installed security cameras. But most of all, we rebuilt what had been quietly slipping away, us. I had thought I was just lonely, that I was finding comfort in harmless company. But I had let someone too close, let my guard down in ways I shouldn't have. I had mistaken attention for safety. I wouldn't make that mistake again.